So here's the question for you then. Give me some hope. Is there any way to reverse this process in your opinion? And if so, what is that hope? Is our civilization doomed to go the way of the Romans and we just have a bumpy ride ahead of us? Or is there any road back from where we currently are?
Oh, that's a golden question, Ben. That is probably the most important question of all. Okay, I'll tell you what Unwin said, and it's not good. He said this process was irreversible in every case. Once you cross that tipping point, it was irreversible. Now, I as a Christian would say, well, but wait a sec here. I think it is reversible at least, but it has to occur starting on the individual level, and that has to do with really taking God seriously and allowing God to. Okay, I admit that I'm, in the eyes of many people here, speaking in a religious sense, but God says there's two basic commands: love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. If we truly did that, if we truly did those two things, he said all the other moral rules and everything else are summed up in these two things. Well, I think that process would be reversible. I mean, when you think of loving God, I know that I hear it all the time. What that means is you're flying planes into air in buildings and having religious wars and stuff. No, that's not actually loving God and loving your neighbor. It's not what Jesus taught. But when you actually think of God, he is the origin of every good thing given and every perfect gift, which means he's the origin of music and beauty and love and honor and every good thing. What could possibly be better than loving the one who is the origin of these things? And secondly, what's the harm in loving your neighbor as yourself? Though that doesn't mean giving your neighbor everything he wants. Like you said, if you didn't have any protection for a society in a post-apocalyptic scenario, well, the predators would wipe you out. They would. I mean, so there are predators and there are people who function like animals in our society, and that has to be controlled. Otherwise you lose. But and that's just part of loving your neighbor. You don't necessarily give them everything you want. You do what's best for your neighbor. And if they want, say, to get addicted to heroin, you're going to do everything in your power to help them not go down that road. So bad news. Unwin says it's irreversible. But as a Christian, I'm doing what I can, at least in the lives of individual people, to say, hey, individually, you don't have to go down this road. You can still have a wonderfully fulfilling sexual relationship within marriage. You can still have a family of children that becomes one of the most important things to you the older you grow, in your family gatherings and the incredible relationships you can have within a family. Now, a big family doesn't mean you're going to have incredible relationships. Of course not. If a person is not loving their children as, say, Jesus loved us. But it is, I think, no matter how fast that ship is going down, we need to be doing everything in our power to try and slow the sinking, or at least do what we can to try and reverse that as much as we can.
I think you're right that when it comes down to the individual level, that is, I mean, it's all we can do really at the end of the day. Whether it's enough or not is another question. But I as a religious person myself, I'm going to use a religious analogy. I know many people aren't religious and this won't resonate with them, but try to if they could try to strip that away from it and just look at it on its merits, I think a lot of people will get a lot out of this. That I remember hearing, I think it was Saint Jose Maria, saying that the way to become a saint is by doing the small duty of the moment, whatever is right in front of you now. And that when we think about big societal issues like this, we can sometimes tear our hair out thinking about how can we save the world, how can I fix all the ills of society, when the reality is, if we all just decided, you know what, I'm going to start living a certain way, I'm going to take care of my family, I'm going to do right by my community and my job and the things that are in front of me, that would be half the battle or more finished. You know, that society is just a collection of individuals at the end of the day, and we can't do anything more than we can do, but that's a big part of it. But no, I couldn't agree more, and this was really fascinating, and thank you so much for your time, Kirk.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I really enjoyed visiting with you, Ben.
Fantastic. Talk soon. God bless.
Thank you, and you too.